Hello, good evening. Welcome. This is a meeting of the Somerville Historic Preservation Commission. It is Tuesday, August 19th, 6:53 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, this meeting of the Somerville Historic Preservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation. The recording of these proceedings can be accessed at any time using the registration link at the top of the agenda. And as is our custom, I'll do some introductions, starting with Ms. Price.
Hi, my name is Denise Price, and I live in a local historic district.
Yeah, we have Vice Chair Kelly.
Kelly, I am the Realtor member on the commission and am a historic homeowner in Union Square.
Thanks. We have Mr. Shagnon.
I'm DJ Shagnon. I'm the landscape architect on the commission and a resident of Ward 5.
Thanks. Eric Parks, the chair, resident of Ward 3, historic homeowner and an architect. And I see one member of staff here, which is Ms. Anthony.
Hi. I'm Madison Anthony, and I'm a case planner with the Department of Planning, Preservation, and Zoning.
All right. If I pull up our agenda, it's a fairly light one. We have basically one case tonight, which is a public hearing for the determination of preferably preserved status for 80 Irving Street. So this is case HP 25-000051. Address is 80 Irving Street. The applicant is Daniel Caspariello. The owner is Daniel A. Caspariello and Amanda Caspariello. And the project is that the applicant seeks to demolish a building constructed a minimum of 75 years ago. The applicant here tonight?
Yes, sir, we are. Attorney Adam Dash, 48 Grove Street, Somerville, representing the applicants Daniel A. and Amanda A. Casparello, owners and applicants for 80 Irving Street. Mr. Casparello is also here if he could be promoted. And I guess he already has been. Great, thank you. So the applicant seeks to demolish the existing two-family in order to build a new residential structure with more units, which would be better than the existing 2 units. We were last before you on July 15th of 2025, where the commission voted to find the existing structure significant. And tonight we're here to see if the structure should be found preferably preserved. Applicant requests that it not be found preferably preserved. Per the staff report regarding preferably preserved, there's no new information that's been uncovered since the significance vote, so I will address the prior significant staff report, which has the substance of the matter in it. So, looking at pages 6 to 7 of the significant staff memo, which is actually attached to the preferably preserved staff memo for convenience, one can see the evolution of the building's footprint over time as it has greatly changed to the present day. In fact, looking at the assessor maps at the city website, one can see how the footprints of the buildings on Irving have greatly changed. Alterations have included adding the uncovered porch, adding the shed, which was later removed, and closing the porch, adding a front portico, the single-story rear addition with the porch on top, which obscures the original massing, the skylights on the roof, and possibly the sunburst above the front door was also added later. All of the windows have been replaced with vinyl and aluminum siding, and there's parched foundation. While some original building exists, the rear addition and the front portico, as well as the other alterations, have changed the form and massing of the structure quite a lot. Per the significant staff report, again, I'll repeat, nothing historically important happened there. Nobody historically significant lived there. It's not a significant building style. It's just one of the many 2.5-story front gable houses in Somerville. It's not associated with a reputed architect or builder. It is not in the public interest to keep the structure. To address comments I made at the prior HPC hearing regarding the prior residences, when I say nobody historically significant lived at the property, I'm not dismissing the litany of working class people who lived there, of course. However, the standard should be whether any individual of historic significance lived there, not whether a general class of people lived there, because I think if that were the standard, then every building in the city would probably be significant and preferably preserved in that regard. At any rate, when determining whether the 18-month demolition delay should be imposed by finding the structure preferably preserved, The question tonight is whether the structure being demolished would be detrimental to the city. And applicant submits that demolishing a run-of-the-mill two-family in favor of a new structure with more units benefits the city without harming the city in any way. The preferably preserved staff report does recommend conditions for finding the structure preferably preserved, which the applicant would accept. So a vote of not being preferably preserved, but with the conditions, and mark the structure rather to photograph, have renderings, salvage items, and have a marker for the structure should suffice and not cause an 18-month delay in creating more housing. In the end, if you find it preferably preserved, I suspect we'll probably end up back to you with an MOA, something akin to what these conditions are anyway. So I would say in conclusion, the applicant asks that you not find the structure preferably preserved, instead that you impose the 4 conditions stated in the preferably preserved staff report dated August 19th, 2025, with the finding of not preferably preserved. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak on your side there, Attorney Dash, or should we move to public comment?
Unless Mr. Casparello had anything to add, I think I'm
Okay.
done with my part.
Sure, thank you. In that case, we will move on to the public comment portion of this hearing. If there are any members of the public who'd like to speak about this case, please raise your hand and staff will unmute you.
Chair Parks, this is Madison speaking. I don't see anyone raising their hand.
Okay, in that case, we'll close the public comment portion of the hearing. And I will turn this over to the commission. If you all want to offer your thoughts on this.
Working on refreshing my memory of what our findings were as to why. I know they're summarized in the preferably preserved menu, but I was trying to dig up the minutes from the previous meeting. There we go.
There's a in the staff report at the very end, there's a, not really the minutes, but the decision.
Right.
is
Yes,
added.
there was a decision and there was a brief summary of the finding. I'm trying to just wrap my head around remembering what the discussion was about.
I think if I can recap it, I think the things that we found at the time noteworthy were that the building was part of, there's this sequence of, I forget, 4 houses that have the same kind of idea, front facing gable with side L on the side there. And that it's relatively intact in that the other than the windows and the siding, all the court brackets and things are intact.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, as Attorney Dash said, I don't think there was anybody other than just that working class people were important to the history of the city. There's nobody that would jump out in a list of names that live there.
Right.
And it's true,
Yeah.
it is a front-facing gable house, of which, you know, that particular style is not unique. So those were, I think that's what we're batting around. If anybody else is there would want to expand on it, go for it.
I did track down the minutes, and that does seem to be a pretty clear summary. So.
Okay.
Chair Parks, sorry to interrupt. This is Madison speaking. We have a member of the public who's now raising their hand.
Okay,
If
we
you'd like
could-
to offer them the ability to comment.
yeah, we could do that. Well, let's reopen the public comment portion of this case and invite them to speak.
All right, let me share my screen real quick. And then one second, technical difficulties. All right, you should be able to speak now, Helen.
Okay, as I said, I live at 76 Irving Street. I am right next door to the house. And I was hoping that tonight I would be able to see the plan that is being proposed. I did have one of my questions answered. That was how long will the demolition take? And I heard 18 months. When will it start? And I'm concerned about the hours that people would be working there and what days they would be working. And what I don't know is after it goes through this process, what is the next step? So those are the things I would like to know, because I am concerned about 18 months of demolition being very noisy. And I don't know whether the Historic Commission has control over that or not, but I just felt this was at the place where I should ask my questions.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other members of the public there?
This is Madison Anthony speaking. No one else is raising their hand right now.
Okay. In that case, I will close the public comment portion of this hearing, and I can answer some of the questions that that person asked, which is just a reminder, we're purely just historic commission, so we don't really have any purview over some of the issues of working hours and time frame. But the 18-month demolition delay is not that it would take them 18 months to demolish it. It would probably happen in a day or two. It's that it could, if we were to vote to delay, demolition delay would begin an 18-month period during which we would explore options to demolition with the applicant. And if we came to an agreement or understanding that that's not going to happen, then we would work on, as the applicant mentioned, a memorandum of agreement, which would basically be some kind of conditions, like basically say, okay, you can demolish it if you do this or this or this. It's often documenting what's there, sometimes putting a plaque or something. Sometimes it's salvaging little pieces. Sometimes it's more geared at the design. For example, we might explore a design option that is more in keeping with the neighboring properties while allowing more intensive development, things like that. So I wouldn't, obviously I'm not the applicant, but it would be unheard of to have a place take 18 months of continuous demolition. But what's likely to happen is that they would then begin the process of designing a building, so you wouldn't see it demolished tomorrow, probably. But we've had cases where places were allowed to be demolished and they sat for 10 years or no work happened. So did I miss anything else there, Madison? Is there another follow-up to that?
I don't think so. I want to add that to Helen, who just spoke. If you have any further questions, a lot of what you asked is outside of the scope of what the Historic Preservation Commission has control over, but you're welcome to email historic@somervillema.gov. Again, that's historic@somervillema.gov. To ask your questions. You can also go onto the Historic Preservation website and look up the email address if you missed it. But we'd be happy to answer any questions that the city can.
There was one piece regarding a question regarding construction hours, which again, the historic doesn't have anything to do with that, but whoever is doing construction will be obligated to adhere to the ordinance within Somerville for noise related to construction work. And so they can't, start, for example, before 7 a.m. and they can't do work after, I don't know what time it is, but that information is available on the city's website through the building department. And certainly if there are complaints that you have, you'll be able to contact 311 and they'll guide you to whoever it is, that you need to speak with. But they'll be bound by the regular rules for construction in the city.
Thank you, Robin. Okay, I think TJ, were you in the middle of commenting, or do you just have a question?
Well, I was just sort of thinking out loud, but I mean, I can go back to it. Might as well pick it up, right? Yeah, I think I sort of still feel like of the group of four of them that are rather similar in massing all in a row there that form sort of a portion of the streetscape.
And across the street.
And across the street, yeah. I mean, there's certainly a continued rhythm across the street. Are there more of the ones with the L over there?
Not the L, but it's the
Yeah.
gable,
Yeah,
and
no,
just
the
the
gable end with
general
the single
height.
bay and the general type.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it's, you know, it's in the middle of the clump of them. It's got at least as much of the detailing, the little brackets peeking out. I feel like from the purposes of the streetscape, it definitely would be a shame to have it go. And I think that the recommended conditions, you know, to Attorney Dash's point of thinking we're going to end up at an MOA in the end anyway, if it is voted preferably preserved. I'm looking at the conditions, and I don't know that the default conditions that are allowed for not preferably preserved with conditions quite capture some of what I'd hope would come out of an MOA process if we voted preferably preserved, which would be related to the sort of the massing of the new building and how it sits and some of the detailing, which there's no guarantee that they would agree to, but yeah, I think my gut reaction to it is that, you know, while I agree with the general point that the city needs more housing, you know, is this particular building, is its highest and best use being removed, or is it in the interest of the city for it to stay as part of the fabric in principle? And I'm leaning towards the latter. And seeing where we get to on a memorandum of agreement. That would be that's my inkling. I don't know how others are feeling.
my thoughts are very much in line with DJ's, and yeah, I'm concerned about the rhythm of the street and just how that would be terribly interrupted, you know, and it's kind of unusual to have, we've got this, you know, wonderful grouping as you come up that gentle slope on either side with the gable roofs and the, you know, all very similar height, similar width of the main body of the house, you know, sort of all of those, you know, and then where we do have variation on the street, it's generally other styles of a slightly, you know, mostly similar age, but just different styles with two-story mansards and the like. So yeah, I have a hard time saying okay to just seeing it disappear.
I
Thank
would
you.
agree with everything that's been said. The house was built somewhere between 1874 and 1884. And when you drive down the street now, it is really charming. And it would be a shame to just pluck one of those out of the streetscape and think that it'll just be okay because there's others in the city. There are many in the city, I agree. But there's something very sweet and special about this street when you come down. And I think it should be, I think it should be preserved. I think it should be creatively restored in a way that will give more units and honor what is on the streetscape.
Thanks. I guess that just leaves me. I would agree with all that. I think it's, as Attorney Dash said, it's likely to end up as an MOA at some point. But if we just sort of let it go with the sort of the standard issue proviso, the caveats there, or the requirements, I think that would be allowing too much. I think that wouldn't be doing justice to the significance of the house, this particular thing, because of it's in the middle of this row, this front gable with side L, and they're all very similar. So I think that we would be responsible if we were not stayed involved through that process, through the MOA, and we could come up with a project if the place does end up going away, at least helping to guide it in a direction that's more respectful of its streetscape, more than just salvaging some brackets and calling it a day. So I would agree with everything that you all have said.
I move that we vote to find the property preferably preserved.
You have
I
a
second that.
motion by Vice Chair Kelly, seconded by Ms. Price. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we'll do the roll call with Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Ms. Price,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. And we need to adopt findings. Would anybody like to suggest some?
The property retains its general form and massing and helps support the rhythm of the architecture along the street. It is one of many coming up the beginning of the street, and its removal would be disruptive to that collection and the strength of that collection. What else?
I think it retains not all, but much of its integrity, and that its original massing, and that the some of the detailing, the brackets, some of the stuff under the eaves.
Yeah, that was what I was going to propose adding as well, with some of the detailing.
The porch, the stuff
Yeah.
like that. And I think when we talk about the rhythm on the street, we have to, we are the historic commission, so I think it's more that defining that the historic character of that section of street is sort of defined by the pattern of those houses that come along, that are identical, nearly identical massing, stuff like that.
That they were all built at the same time. It was, it speaks to the era in which it was built, trying to create housing for working class folks, and particularly with access to the trolley in Davis Square, and the development in that period all around Davis because of transportation access.
Okay. I think we've got a handful there. Unless there are any changes, we could go for a motion to accept those findings.
So moved.
I'll second that.
A motion to accept findings by Vice Chair Kelly, seconded by Mr. Shagnon. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll do the roll call again with Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Ms. Price,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. So there we have it. Thank you, Attorney Dash, as usual, for spending some time with us.
Thank you. We'll see if we're back.
Okay.
On this one. The zoning requirements make it tough sometimes, but we'll see.
Okay. Well, keep us in the loop. All right. The next, we don't have any other cases. We just have accepting meeting minutes and the CPC update. I took a glance at the minutes and didn't see anything glaring in there. Does anybody else need a moment or have comments on them?
I read through them. I didn't have any edits.
Okay,
I wasn't there, but nothing jumped out at me as being confusing, having not been there, so. If you guys feel like they're a clear reflection of it, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, I didn't see any items for correction or adjustment or anything.
okay. Is there a motion to accept the minutes of 8:05?
So moved.
I'll second it, I guess. Am I allowed to? Sure, I can second. All in favor?
I,
Opposed? And we'll do a roll call. Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Ms. Price,
yes,
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes,
and I'll vote yes. And the CPC update, we have not had a meeting, have we? I don't think we've had a meeting since our last. No, we haven't had it. That's coming up next week. So there's no status change. The only thing that's going on for me personally is that we have received proposals for a consult for historic consulting for the historic portion of what we do. And I'll be meeting with Sarah and Roberta on Friday to go over them and decide which one the city will go with. And that person will be coming up with kind of a master plan for how the CPC reviews, historic preservation money conditions and all that kind of stuff, without going into great detail. And we're looking for members of the public. Anything else? Any questions on that?
not on my end.
Okay. I think we're wrapped up then.
Great.
Do we have a meeting, do you know, Madison, on the 1st September, do we have both meetings in September?
We should. I know that September 1st is a holiday, but I still think we have a meeting on September 2nd. And then I know we have one on September 16th.
Okay. All right, well, I guess we can adjourn then.
I move that we vote to adjourn.
I will second that.
Okay, a motion adjourned by Vice Chair Kelly, seconded by Mr. Shagnon. All in favor
Aye.
and opposed? Do a roll call, Ms. Price,
yes.
Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Shagnon,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. See you all.
Take care.
Short meeting here.
Thank
Enjoy.
you. Have a good evening.
Your late
Thanks for
summer.
a short meeting tonight, everyone.
Yeah,
That was efficient.
All right, good night.
yeah.